Hello guys. It's been a while. I'm sorry since I sent an email out with a video. I apologize. Just have not really been able to give it the attention that I really wanted to. I've got a couple of things that I need to do. I'm going to do a very brief market review, and actually, but first I want to cover a concern that I've just discovered with regards to the pivot trade indicator. And then I'll move on to the market review. So in this case, this is my concern. I have a 5-minute chart. I have a 60-minute chart and I have a 4-hourly chart. The reason I have my 4-hourly chart up is so that I can just check the quality of the trend. So I'd like to see that there's a trend there. If, for example, I'm looking at a chart that is going predominantly sideways, I would probably not trade that for pivots. Not to say that you won't make money with pivots, but you have money will be given to you and money will be taken away from you. So just be aware of that kind of thing. So there's actually two issues that I have with this. The first thing you need to be aware of is that the short day and long day indicator here is derived from the relationship in the 60-minute chart between the 200 moving average and the 50 moving average. So if the 50 moving average is below the 200 moving average, it is a short day. If the 50 moving average is above, it's a long day. So if we go look at a few here, CAD yen, this would be a short day because the 200 is here, the 50 is here, and so it becomes a short day. The indicator looks at the 60-minute charts time frame and checks it and then says short or long. The problem is that eSignal only downloads certain bars that you request, and this can affect how this moving average is calculated. So these moving averages are calculated. So when you bring in more bars, then it calculates and might adjust a little bit here or there. And that could affect, if these moving averages are close to each other, it can actually shift the fact that your signal becomes an inverse. So this is the first thing you need to be aware of. So I'm going to go find a chart where these moving averages are sort of overlapped, or where they're very close to being overlapped, and then we're going to see if it updates. So we'll have a look here if it does it here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale out, and we're going to watch. Right now it says it's a short day. I'm going to scale out to get more data in. Watch it update. Watch it update. There we go. And okay, it is still a short day. Alright, it's a short day. They have moved a little bit. Then we'll go find something else where we've seen that. Euro Aussie. I want something where they're close enough to each other, which you might not necessarily take any trades there, because if you're following the rules, that wouldn't necessarily be the case. You would wait for the moving averages to be fanning out. Let's see if anything changes here. So currently it's a short day, so we'll bring in more data. Okay, it's staying a short day. Okay, it seems to be quite happy with this. But believe me, if you test this, you will find that this happens on occasion. Kiwi is all sorted. Swissy is sorted. Yen is... No, all those moving averages are fine. None of them are actually on top of each other. So that does solve that issue. Just to see if there's anything else. Aussie, Kiwi, I can't... Alright. Just something to be aware of. Just make sure that you have uploaded, you just update that in order to get the signal. So that's just something to keep in mind. You'd want to scale out just to make sure. Obviously, if they're fanning out, if they fanned out, that's not going to change anything. It's when they're very close to each other that problem will arise. That is the first issue. The second issue is this. I'm going to use the 5 minutes. It doesn't matter which chart I use. I'm going to use the 5-minute chart just to demonstrate this. This pivot indicator is derived from pivot levels, which is calculated in the software. So if I just clean it up, just take everything out, switch off the pivot level, we have our price here. And with eSignal, and with every package you get, you can calculate the daily pivot levels. So there is a folder here called pivots, and you can go through and you can say, give me all the pivot levels. And so it creates, it's very hard to see here, but it has actually created pivot levels for us here. If I change my background so that we can see this, you'll see that there is a pivot level here, a pivot level here. There's my central pivot line. There's another pivot level, and there's another pivot level. And in this particular case, on this chart, what's happening is this is R1, which is our resistance one. This is a hot, well, actually, no, this must be R1. This must be R1 because there's always a gap between it. That's probably R2. Anything else? No. So this would be our pivot level. This would then be S1, support 1, S2, support 2. This would be R1 and R2. Let me just have a look at that. I've got another one that I use, which is over here, pivot points, all three. There we go, that's correct. So this one in particular, this one that I have as the original pivot levels, then a 0.5 halfway between, then R1, R1.5, R2, R2.5, R3, and so on the way down. So the other one is giving us that. So I'm going to just remove this pivot points and go back to this one. So here's our central pivot point, there is our R1, R2, S1, S2. So I'd like you to just pay attention to this as I add in the K2A indicator. What I would like you to realize that when you take a pivot trade, in this particular case, if we were going to take a pivot trade short, our entry would be here. Our target would be 5 points above. In case you don't remember, it's 5 points above that level. So our target would be here, which would be somewhere about there. Okay, so that would be our target, right? And our stop should be logically, and has been according to the strategy, tucked behind this, because this is an intraday resistance level. Therefore, our thing should be tucked away behind it to get some sort of protection from this resistance level. So that means that your stop should be 5 points behind that. Okay, so that's what I would like our line to be. And so what's happening is, in a way, we're going down on this trade. So if it triggers through here, the target is exposed. It's not protected by a support level, it's exposed. And our stop is protected by a resistance level. So everything in effect is shifted up. Both the stop and the entry is shifted up 5 points. What I'd like you to notice is what happens when I switch on the indicator. The thing to notice is that the indicator correctly sets your target. So the target, where the indicator line is your target. The target is fine. It's the stop that causes an issue. There is an issue with the stop. The stop is actually calculated on the wrong side. It comes in on this side. So in other words, it's calculated 5 points closer to the price action, which actually leaves it exposed. And I'm not saying this would statistically have necessarily made a difference, but I don't think you should do it that way. So let's switch on the indicator and see what happens. And this is a workaround until the bug is fixed. I've logged an issue with the techie guys to see if they can fix it. So let's have a look and see. I want you to actually see what happens when I switch it on. So I'm going to switch it on now, and you can see that the pivot level pops in. There is our target is in the correct place. Our target is in the correct place, which is there, which is where it should be, right? But our sorry, I beg your pardon. I'm doing it all up here. This is I'm so sorry. This is our R1. Sorry for some of you who've spotted that. This is our R1, and our stop has been put on this side of it, when in actual fact it should have been placed on that side of it. It should be placed more up here, protected by that level, by R1. I'm sorry, this is R2. So yeah, so I'd like to recommend that you do that. So what that would mean from a practical standpoint is that you would take the value that it gives you as your stop, and you would push it further away from your pivot by 10 points. By 10 points, because not just by 5, which puts it on this level, but by an additional 5, because it's actually supposed to be 5 points on the other side. So do that, and that's a much better approach to this, and it's a workaround for whatever reason the indicator is calculating it over here. So that the target is fine. Don't worry about the target. It's just the stop, and obviously the stop is important. So you want to move it 10 points away. So 5 points brings it in line with R1 in this particular example. Another 5 points puts it on the other side. Okay, so I just wanted to demonstrate that to you guys, and to make sure that you do that. And that's just something to be aware of. So just make sure that you add 10 points to your stop. You make it further away and not closer. And you do that whichever direction you're going in. So if you're going up, if you're going down, it doesn't matter. Just make sure that you adjust it and do it that way. Right. Let's just do this, and then I can go back and do a quick market review. Okay, so this target is fine. The stop is at least 10 points off course, which it should be somewhere approximately here in that particular example. Okay, let's go and have a quick look at the market conditions as part of this. Let's do my midweek market focus page. Um, let's go and have a look at what's going on at the moment. Let's do a quick look at the dollar strength, obviously, which affects the euro. Seriously? Someone's phoning me now. Okay, so let's have a look here. I'm going to go through and just have a look at the dollar strength. So, you know, we are getting high highs and high lows here. We had a high test here, which was rejected, or if you want to call it a doji or rejection candle, which has been disregarded. So in other words, this is now yesterday's bar, and yesterday's bar has broken the high, and it's definitely testing this 84 level. So yes, I don't know how today is going to close. I can see that the euro has climbed a bit today, but it is, in terms of the dollar, it is definitely testing and keen to break that 84 level. And it's a pretty, the US dollar is pretty sort of on the numbers. So it's certainly trying to break through to that. And it's important, I think, to note that it has broken this previous low over here. So price came down, turned around here. We've broken well above that, and we really want to see if this level holds. But the main thing is the next level up. But I mean, this is amazing. The next level up is, somewhere here, I guess, if you're going to take this one into account. Otherwise, it's up here. So that gives us a lot of room for euro weakness. Obviously, we're looking to see euro weakness as well, but it gives us quite a bit of room to trade. So this is a weekly chart. I'd really like to see the weekly chart come up and close above 84, because that indicates that we have some confidence that the US dollar will increase in strength, which will give us more confidence in shorting the euro and following Swissy long and that kind of thing. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that at this point. And of course, I understand, I understand, and I understand that you understand that, you know, it's typical Murphy's law that it gets up to here, then it pulls back, and then it goes long. It can do all kinds of things. So just be aware of that. Again, I'm going to show you just how we stay on top of that. Um, and it never doesn't move perfectly spread out over a week. It often will do a big move one day and pull back, and then eventually you look a week later and it's hit and it's kind of moved down to that level. So the euro, again on the weekly chart, is currently forming a low test, but it's only Wednesday today. I wouldn't worry about that yet. You can't conclude anything, but it has broken below these two levels over here. I use my levels to go through the bodies and the wicks, as long as it meets. It seems to coincide with other levels, so I don't care if it's the wick or the body, but it tends to work. So that's a key thing. We've broken through that key level there. We've broken throughout all of this stuff, and we have come down to here. So it's incredibly bearish. So it's very likely that it's going to run down and test this level before it decides what to do, because there's no other levels in between here that I can see. Yeah, so price will come down to here, and we'll have to see what happens. There's something that I think is worth taking note of. Is that if you look at in the past, the euro has done a move down and has done a move down and bounced up. So please be aware that it's not completely inconceivable. It isn't inconceivable that the euro could bounce at one of these levels, at this level, potentially even where it is now. I don't think it's going to happen here, but it could do that and bounce and do a big move up. And obviously, the first clue of that happening would be a break of this downtrend line, which is on the 10 moving averages there. The 20s come down. It would be the first hint, and then obviously that would be the previous high. So as it starts to break, there's a high and there's another high. As it starts to break those levels, that would be the most likely scenario. But based on what we saw on the dollar chart, with there's very little resistance on the dollar chart, that would be unusual, but yeah, I guess anything can happen. But I'm inclined to think this is actually going to continue to break lower. But I am watching at those key levels. I will really only relax, I think, once I see it break this one. So if we look at previous levels, it's about price. I will really only kind of relax once I see it break that level. What that will mean to me is that we have a good run down to another level. So we have a good, nice long run down to this level, and I want to see that happen. And we could get one bad day. I mean, this is a 1 week bar, so you could get another 1 week bar, and you're there. You kind of break through that level. So that's kind of what it happens. And yeah, we're halfway through this candle. Technically, this is a doji. We don't even know where it's going to end today. And on the daily manner, so on the weekly, we're getting lower highs, lower lows, looking pretty orderly. On the daily, it's doing lower lows, bounce off the 10, which is normally a very strong trend, indication of trend. So we'll see if that's kind of the case. It's unusual for it to go and bounce and then kind of decide to break through it after, just after 2 or 3 days. So, but let's see what happens. Um, and we may just find that it's a pullback and then it ends as a potentially as a falling star or something, and then breaks down short tomorrow. So in principle, I am short on this. It's really about finding that correct entry. So by watching the hourly chart, for example, and zooming out over a larger period of time, and this applies to any chart that you're watching to go in any particular direction. Before I commit to any trades here, unless I'm using a master trader strategy, I'm going to be looking for lower highs and lower lows. And if I look at my recent price action, the problem we have is that right now, price has pulled back over our recent low, which is this area here. So that's a warning sign right now. I just don't have enough to go on. It may just well have broken through support and has come back up to test it and is then on its way down. That's fine. But I'm much happier entering into a trade when I see that it is generally cycling down. And when it stops doing that, you have a temporary pullback or a temporary uptrend. So in principle, based on the daily and the weekly, I'm in a downtrend down to here, and then we want to see if it goes any further. But I can't trade it this way yet using that kind of approach, because I don't see lower highs and lower lows. So we're not actually in a downtrend right now. And so price could be pulling up. And as long as I follow that, I'm always on the right side of a trade, because I'm not going to get in just yet. And if I see that happen, if I see it break this low and then pull back, I can get back in on that trend, because then we have a new low and a lower high. So we can do that. Then we have a look at cable, which is just a killer one. I'm not sure who likes to trade it, but I'd be very cautious with it. Cable is predominantly going sideways. Alright, and it has a big problem. It has this level it's trying to break. You would think with the US dollar strength, it would, and weakening the euro, the cable would also weaken. But it's looking like, the expression goes, it's looking like the best house in a bad neighborhood at the moment. So compared to Europe. But the reality is that if we get some bad news that breaks this level, that it's, in fact, it's not even just that level. But that'll do fine. If we get any bad news that causes it to break that level, it's going to drop down. Okay, then obviously they would have to be so bad that it would impact it in that respect. So I'm not really seeing, right now, if I look at this on a weekly basis, bar by bar, it's going sideways, because it'll do a bar up. I mean, and get this, it's a bear bar, but it's got a higher low and a higher high, which is crazy. And then it's a bull bar, it's got a lower low and a lower high. So that's just turmoil going on right there. And then a rejection of this, a rejection of the, it's just not ready to go anywhere. And so to trade this, you've got to be so careful. You got to trade, you really, if we just look at that hourly chart again, let's see what we see. So just on that, this is what we're getting. We're getting lower highs, higher lows, it's all over the place. Pull back. You'll have an uptrend with ridiculous thing. It's a higher low, then it's a brand new high, then a higher low, then a lower high, then a higher low, then a new high. It's incredibly turbulent, so please be careful about that. Trading cable, anything can happen. You wouldn't believe it, but euro can actually be calmer than cable. Looking at Swissy. Oops, I cocked that up. CHF A0-XX. And based on that, and the weekly as well, let's go look at the weekly, very similar to the dollar. So very similar to the dollar's behavior, currently is forming a doji. Think about this as well, because euro and Swissy are tied at this level, because Switzerland has said, look, the Swiss National Bank is spending 10 million a day propping this up. It means that whatever the euro does, the Swissy must do the opposite of. So they're going in different directions. Okay, so that means you can either trade one or either or both. But in principle, you can, whatever indications you see on one, you should be able to apply to the others. And let's go across to the yen. This is my kind of opinion on the yen. A lot of range trading here because they wanted to intervene, and so the market didn't really go anywhere here. And there was a longer term downtrend which it broke, which made me very bullish. So it did this big move up, came all the way back down to the one, just came all the way back down to the 786 fib level, and then attempted to go up again and failed. So it's worth noting, by the way, that it was a very strong bullish move. And if we go to the daily in particular, the daily, this was a good, strong, clean move, a little bit of turmoil, got up here, then it's just turmoil all the way down. It's got this fighting thing happening. It goes down, goes up, goes down, goes up, all those things. And basically, this indicates this was stealth intervention. So this is Japan trying to weaken their currency against the dollar. And this is them trying to maintain that, and all the while it's strengthening against the dollar. So they're really fighting that out. And then they figured they could get it that way again, and it's actually failed again. So overall, I am actually bearish on this. I would love to see it go long, just for a change, but I have to agree that it's unusual that it's clearly failing. It tries again, fails again, sideways collapse. It's very weak. Now, we could get a double bottom pattern, so it's not inconceivable. Don't worry about these arrows. It's not inconceivable. Price could come down, bounce, like it has, come back down, close to that level, and bounce and go long. So you can have a double bottom pattern occur, which is one of the reasons I'm personally always very wary about trading this until it's either broken that level or until it's showing that it's clearly going longer. So that's just my opinion, is based on this whole story that's developing here. Unless they come up with a new genius super plan to weaken it, I can just slowly see it basically break through that level. And if it breaks through, it'll move down. And then we're back into the zone again. So the yen is not really going to be a great thing to trade, but, just keep an eye on it. If you see it's orderly at the moment, so if you see it orderly, then go for it. If a chart is orderly in its recent price action and you see a trade setup, go for it. It's when it's like this or disorderly or too choppy, stay out of it. Okay, Aussie dollar. Look at this. Looking bullish. I don't know how else to say it. It's looking bullish. Even on the weekly, what we have here is this is a bear bar. It's a lower low and a lower high. Yes, absolutely. But no buts. Just saying, in the weekly, it kind of is ping-ponging around here. There is a trend line here. I'm watching to see what happens if it goes up to test that. And it has tested a new low, so it's a lower high, and we've got a lower low here from that low, not from this one. So it's kind of in a ranging bearish kind of zone. The only question is at what point, what will it do? And it seems to be doing kind of 1 week up, 1 week down. It's not ideal. So that's not really giving me any clear signals on that chart. But it seems to be doing high highs and high lows here. It's broken above the 50 moving average, bounced above it again. The only concern I really have is the speed at which it goes up and down, which makes it really volatile. If we look at the monthly, now all I want to do is I want to look at the monthly bars, and look how chaotic this is. You get a move down, move up, low test, inside doji bar, low test, which is actually kind of like a hanging man type thing. It's not actually a hanging man, it's like a dragonfly. And you get all these different things down here. So this week, though, currently, even though it's got complete indecision, is performing at a higher level than this one. It's over there. It hasn't tested that far down. So let's see where this goes. This is not giving any clear signals either. Okay, so bearish, bullish has actually broken above that, but hasn't closed above. Where this closes, I suppose, is going to give us either indecision or some kind of decision. I'd love to see it come up, close. That would be bullish for me. But we'll see. We'll have to revisit what that does. And Kiwi, looking at the two together, seems a lot more bearish. It's ranging, but it seems to be slipping a lot more, and this particular candle is a lot more bearish. So either Kiwi is more sensitive and therefore is indicating which way Aussie is likely to go. Even though the Aussie is the big brother, it may just be giving us a heads up. CAD, weekly chart. Again, I'm not normally a fan of trading CAD because it's just so choppy. I don't know what type of opportunities it presents. Strangely enough, on the daily, it's been the same kind of thing. It's just very choppy, so be careful of trading that one. And then we've got some of the crosses. Still trending nicely, looking to do a bit of a pullback. So that's quite cool. Euro Swiss you can't trade. Euro Yen has broken to new low, so I would be careful about trading it just yet. I would wait for it to pull back and then take it with an income generator but an income generator at the very least. Euro Aussie still trending down, but very overextended, probably doing a bit of a pullback. We'll have to see what it does here, but there's an income generator sitting up here today, and if it closes tonight as a high test, that's a good income generator setup. I quite like that one, just because it's bouncing off the 10-day moving average. Aussie Kiwi going through a lot more turmoil, but yeah, still kind of moving down. And then we've got a few other things. Let's see, Pound Aussie, it's still moving down. It's not as smooth. Pound Kiwi is still doing a pullback. This is quite interesting because we might find that we are in phase 1, phase 2, and a continuation. So we'll have to see. I'm not getting any clear signals. It'd be nice to see a high test or something like that. And then certainly I've put a trend line in here just to give me an indication if it starts to break that, then what it'll probably do is break and retest and kind of go down, and which is all kind of in line with this level. One last thing, let's go and have a look at stocks. Let's have a look at gold quickly. Ranging, guys, there's no clear trend here, so you can't be trading gold. If any of you are, you should just kind of be staying away from that, unless of course you are comfortable trading range trading. Dow Jones, briefly, just to give us all an idea of what the market is looking like. We've got, similar to Aussie Dollar, we've got big moves up, big moves down, big moves up. This is essentially indecision. So that's something to be careful of. S&P is again all bullish, but indecision, which means it's just not committing. It's actually attempting to be bullish, failing, attempting, failing, attempting, failing. Not a good sign. Nasdaq. I mean, look at this incredibly bullish move, and look at what we've got here, which is just junk. It's just complete junk. Same thing, still doing high highs and high lows, but not convincingly. So it means that there's no long-term solution there. This is still doing, it's actually started doing a lower high there. So it actually came back, lower high and down. This is the Russell 2000. So this one has actually gone bearish. And the FTSE is currently battling, looks like did a move up, high tested, pulled back, bounced on the 20, came back up, solid level, double, sort of like a double top, and came back down and broke through that short-term trend line, and is kind of slightly more bearish. This is not really a good sign. So we've broken the recent low. So right now we're in a downtrend. If we go to the weekly, and if I get rid of that trend line, we are, on the whole, we are still on a higher low, but it's not looking good. This breaks this, then we're down to this level. So, and then that's not a great sign. So the Russell 2000 is doing indecision, high, low, lower, high, high, low. It's all over the place. Nasdaq is still doing high highs, but this could be worrying. If it breaks down, it's still got to bounce off that trend line, so there's no real answer to trade that yet, unfortunately. Again, same thing here, lower high, but again, until we break that, we still have to come down to here, and you can see how it is stuck like glue to that level. So I would still expect it to come back to somewhere here and bounce. If it broke that, that's a different story altogether. So, all of this leading up to the fact that we could have a crash of notes. If all of them start to break, continue down and break, we then would likely have, I don't want to say a crash, but we are likely to have a sell-off like we've had in the past. And the question is not, it's not necessarily going to be, it could be terrifying, it could be nothing. This is a good strong move, it could just be a move like that and it just starts again. Remember, when it gets to certain levels, it'll just climb up again. So don't assume it's going to drop rock bottom. Doesn't matter how much you're hearing in the news. Same thing here, high highs, high lows. Still looking good. Predominantly still sticking to that trend line. We've got lots of room to go. I know it's only 2 touches, but you can do another one if you want. Bring it in. Just giving yourself a few. I'm just giving myself lots of room for it to prove to me that it's not happy. That's it, guys. So kind of happy trading with that. I'll send the email out now, and I'll chat to you guys soon. All right. Have a good week.